Welcome everyone to the City of Canby Bike Ped Committee Citizen Advisory Committee on Tuesday, June 13th. And we'll call the meeting to order at 6:32. And first of all, any comments on the minutes from May? Thank you, Mike, for recording those. Any corrections?
Minor correction.
They've got me on one. I know they told me.
You're talking about the rumble strips.
Yeah.
All right, and then you go, Scott Hosher and Duisburg has suggested the alternative configuration of that. It should be more accommodating. So I just simply say the Clackamas County Bike Ped Committee made a.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it's accommodation. Scott, me, and other people.
Parroting your words from the meeting. But
yeah,
what you're saying now.
I thought you could correct the spell before you.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I thought that was totally wrong.
What should it change to? Simply put the Clackamas County Bike Ped Committee.
It's up to me to correct it, right?
Yeah, if you can just resend it to me, that would be great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Because we had a discussion, I should have.
Oh, and tonight I would like to welcome Ryan Potter. And most all of us know Ryan from before, right? Was Ryan still doing it when you were on for a while, right? So yeah.
Yeah, it was on vacations, but she deserved it. So.
Yeah. I'm happy for her to have a break, and hopefully wherever she's at, she's got some good weather. So, all right, any other corrections or additions? Otherwise, I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to be approved as amended.
Second, one amendment, 2.
Oh, the second one
remember what
is
time we adjourned last?
the only other.
7:22, I think. That's what I have in my notes.
Okay.
I don't know. You got to straight way of the meeting.
So then.
And Scott Hosher.
Yeah.
Well, just
Doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Did I get Magenheimer correctly, or is
Yeah.
that?
Okay. So so that was seconded. Any objections? Vice? All in favor? Great. Thank you. And of course, I didn't bring my printed out. So on to public comments. I don't see that we have any online or otherwise.
No.
And then new business. If not, we will move on to staff and council update. And I think you and I both got the memo from Emma.
Yes.
And
Do you want me to go through that, or
I
can have it? This is from Emma. She said she looked into the trash pickup event. She got in touch with the Kiwanis folks, and they have adopted Eco Park, but they don't host regular events along the trail. But their members will be happy to participate, so just keep them in the loop. And they mentioned they often don't see trash on the trail.
it's pretty awesome.
I know I rode the trail several times since the last meeting, and I didn't see any trash.
Yeah.
And I was specifically looking.
What about just any debris pickup as far as like junk, even
Grass.
broken grass. I mean, not broken grass, but grass clippings, junk, it's not really, because I think Public Works.
Yeah.
I think
Great.
it's pretty good, which is really a great.
Yeah.
But maybe we just suspend what we're doing until we see a need. Maybe later in the summer or early fall.
Yeah.
You know. Maybe October.
Yeah. Should we make a motion for further discussion?
I think we just should postpone discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can do that. In that case, we will not decide on a time and meeting place.
Okay. And then the other thing she said was that she's scheduled to join the agency partner workshop for the Clackamas County Bike Walk Plan. That looks like that was June 20th.
Hi, Britt. Welcome.
Are you stuck outside?
Talk.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you, Linda.
he's coming.
She looks desperate.
Okay.
Concerned.
Hi, I can't get in.
So you can write it down.
Isn't the door still up on the side?
No,
I closed it. Oh.
Joyce, I smart.
She knew the Zoom thing.
Thank you.
To the side door. Yeah.
Oh, she's trying. All right, she's good.
So Britt Ash is joining the meeting, and all right. So what was that last thing that you said?
Oh, Emma's going to participate in
that's
that
right.
agency partner workshop. I'm assuming that's a staff thing, because you guys are, you know,
And
involved
Bruce's
otherwise.
office is an advisory, and you're abreast of it. too.
Join the line, usually.
So-
sorry about that.
Oh,
I guess if you're lose late, you get
locked out. For once in my life, I can say, well, we're prompt. So, welcome.
I had this text me, but then I was like, oh, I know a better way.
Did you have anything on the minutes that you needed to? Okay, and so we had just minor corrections, so pass. Sorry. Yeah, and just to give you an update, we're postponing the cleanup because the logging room. So we're not seeing trash on it, right? Per report from Kaiwanis and from Jeff and the other members who are saying maybe we do it as when it more than need it occurs. Is there a copy? No, I actually have a copy. Oh, that's okay. No, anyway, so that kind of wraps up staff and council update. Cliff, any comments on?
Don't be developments on site, but
And any hot spots, or you know what, we have a developed, I mean, our planner here. Any plans coming down the pike that you know, we maybe should make
Like
sure that we
subdivision.
get our eyes on, but you know, what during the kind of the staff comment time or whatever.
No, they're mostly smaller projects that are coming down. OLCC, I don't know how aware you are of that. That's sort of in the works. That'll probably be later this summer.
What is it?
Just the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission, they're gonna build their new headquarters out in the industrial park.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Sure, all the local bars.
Data retail.
State.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Oregon.
And where are they gonna be?
Wow.
Out in the industrial park, along First.
Huh.
Yeah, so they're up near Milwaukee now.
Yeah.
Um,
Will we be able to go out there to get some whiskey?
I don't.
Yeah.
Come near.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
We actually have
Be right back.
to-
We did this.
Yeah, right. Well, that'll be easy. I mean, they probably, yeah, go there. a lot.
I might have a lot to do.
What is the time frame?
Well, they haven't formally submitted, that project's been submitted and approved a couple times previously for spec projects, but they haven't. They're gonna formally submit soon, I think, for LCC, and I think they want to open in 2025. But that's the only really big thing right now. We've got the biggest subdivision, Mark's Place, is already going in on the south side of town, on the east side of Ivy, right before you cross over the Mall River. That one's already designed, so you've probably seen that and approved. The rest is smaller projects.
What's the status on the brewery, on the,
On the beer library?
yeah.
Right now, they're doing some interim work based on some state grants that they had gotten. And so they already know they have a new iteration of the project that they're going to be taking through the land use approval process in the next 2 months or so. Actually, we've already, that's already been submitted. So they have an approved version of the project that was all interior. That's probably what everyone's seen before. The new version is going to be half interior where there's a brewery. The other half they're going to demolish and put a courtyard of food trucks with an overhead canopied seating area. So that still has to go through land use approvals. What they're doing right now, if you walk or bike by it, is just some interim facade work. And basically they didn't want to lose their grant from the state to do facade work. So they picked some items that were common to all the versions of the project so that they could do some demolition and put some glazing in and stuff. So what you're seeing now is just sort of some interim work, and then the rest will come later, but it's still in the works.
What is happening with the new, the old police station? Because I've noticed it.
I believe Mary Hanlon, who's the owner of that whole block, is looking for tenants. The ice cream shop that's going to be in the old city hall, I think, is opening in a couple weeks.
Oh.
But the police station side, I'm not sure.
There,
Yeah.
after our next meeting.
What happened originally to the library?
What's that?
Police station before it was the police station. Was it a library at one time?
What that? But yeah, I think she's looking for tenants.
Old City Hall, the building next to it was the old library, right? And,
Okay, I'm not sure.
Wait, it was a police station.
and then the.
It was a library. The library is another block. Yeah.
Yeah, but
The old.
way back.
Before it was a
little-
police station.
Yeah,
and
you know, the
saying-
old City Hall building,
Yep,
that's
yep.
there, that little smaller building towards the tracks.
Uh-huh.
That used to be the original Canby, one of the the previous Canby librry.
Huh.
Way
Two
back.
libraries ago.
When I was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the status of Ivy? Improvement on Ivy.
South Ivy?
Yeah.
I would have to ask Jerry. I know it's complicated. I know there was the talk of the roundabouts down there for a long time. I think those are kind of on hold. Last I heard the traffic warrants don't support putting roundabouts in. There's not enough traffic there, but don't quote me on that. But I can look into that.
We're not even talking about that far.
Oh, closer.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
there hasn't been much work.
Well, they've been doing that. They've been cutting the road up and doing something underneath the road for.
Well, they were
Right,
placing
one.
utilities,
Yeah.
under, and then I'm sure they have all.
Don't usually wait till it's completed day before they cut it. Wait, look, it's just perfect.
And then, is everyone here kind of keeping apprised of the comprehensive plan, transportation system plan processes? Them have been talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And well, and I'm on one of the advisory committees, or the advisory committee on that. And so one of the things that we have talked about is maybe, not maybe, but kind of really taking a look at our current concrete or our TSP and making sure that, you know, getting familiar with the plan, you know, what's been done, what hasn't, what's changed.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'll be taking us through that process too. But we've taken some time as a committee and kind of looked at some of the old TSP.
Yeah, and our traffic consultant is doing that right now. The first part of the comp plan process is doing a lot of background reports, like literature reviews, like basically auditing all the plans that you've already adopted over the years. And so they're kind of in that stage right now of doing their own look back at what's in there. Obviously, there's a lot of old stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that would be a great exercise, and there's obviously going to be a lot of opportunities for input on that stuff going forward.
Yeah. So and we're trying to have you know, some forward thinking. And I'm sure they're going to talk about it too, you know, just how different modes of transportation, electric bikes, scooters, things like that are really and electric vehicles are kind of changing our design plan for development and stuff. I just was in San Antonio over the weekend, and I rode the motorized scooters a couple different times just to get around town. What's that?
A line.
These were birds. So
Essentially.
same thing,
I
yeah.
think the birds fly though, and the lions, they go in margaritas.
So yeah, we like to call ourselves a flock of birds came up behind those little mini motorcycle, about a dozen of them at a light, you know, and they're down there, boom, boom, and we're standing there kind of like on our scooters. So anyway, yeah, it'll be.
But I think I'll make the pitch that I think this group will be a really valuable source of input for all of that stuff, because there's a large contingent of the community that's like traffic, and they want to change, you know, thresholds to be, you know, LOSA and LOSB, which is all about, you know, shoving more cars down streets. And I think it's going to be really important, I think, and this is from a planner's perspective, is you need the other side of that, which is, do we really want to supersize all our streets? Because what does that look like when you're on a bike or when you're walking? You know, if you create a bunch of supersized intersections, wide streets, that's not a great experience for other users. So I definitely hope that you guys can involve.
Yeah.
So what streets were you thinking they want to supersize? And was that mean another lane width?
That's just like sort of like a programmatic comment that we hear a lot in the development review side is, oh, we have so much traffic, like we need to mitigate this more, which, you know, if you really mitigate volumes, you know, you have to add lanes or add turn pockets. I think lately it's been territorial that people have talked a lot about, because there has been some additional projects along there.
But with the supersizing, if things were supersized, could there actually be some improvements? I mean, could there be a dedicated bike pedestrian lane? Like it could actually be improved and safer than this.
I think, well, of course, this gets into your philosophy of layout. But making the streets wider, to me, within the maybe territorial is different, and making sure that 99 is coming through the midst of the city is probably about the worst thing possibly to consider, because it reduces the amount of community, because in Europe, and that just not just bikes thing, he did this YouTube channel called Not Just Bikes. The guy's really anti, supersized vehicles, and he said they don't have to put up signs to reduce traffic in a lot of, like in the Netherlands, they just make the street narrow, and people naturally slow down. And whereas if you widen the streets, people will go faster. People drive as fast as they feel comfortable driving. That's why, talking about driving on the freeway, who here drives on the freeway all the time at the speed limit? Raise your hand. We don't. And so, but
I have to go with the flow of traffic.
well, yeah, but it's not the point. It's just you're going with what you feel safe going.
Yeah, if I go slower, I don't feel safe.
No, I understand that. I understand that. But if the road, but if you make a street instead of being this wide, traffic will move faster. And it will be less safe for bicycles and for pedestrians.
Well, and they did reduce the speeding on territorial. And I thought that was one of the best things that they did, because there was people going 45, 50 miles an hour down territorial because it was at, 40 miles an hour for quite a long time. And that was dangerous.
But just because if people, like my son lives out in Milano, that straight stretch when you go back, you turn left at Magdalena's and you go in that straight stretch for about 2 miles or so. People travel there at 70 miles an hour and speed limit is 45. And there was a bad crash there, and the county deputy told my son that they didn't even worry about it unless they're going over 75, because there's no control, because people feel comfortable driving that fast on that road. And it's just you can't legislate by putting out speed limits, because they don't pay attention to speed limit. There's nobody there to enforce the speed limit, so why worry about it?
That's how our road is too, and that's why we don't want the potholes fixed. Keeps people going slower, but still people go 70 miles an hour. I don't ride my bike on them.
Yeah, I don't like riding.
And you're on Bergen.
Bremer. Yeah, but I used to run on it, ride my bike.
To go with that hill and fly over.
They do, and when they're going away from town, the neighbor across the street from us said there are constantly people that miss the S turn and end up like in the ditch. They said there's crashes.
Anyway, that was just something that that's the kind of input that we should have.
I was going to make the same comment, Russ, that you made. If you supersize, make the roads wider, you increase the speeds. Yeah, maybe that increases the amount of traffic that goes through, but certainly for pedestrians, cyclists, right. In the neighborhoods, it destroys those neighborhoods. I agree. So
basically, it depends on what kind of community we want. Do we want to?
Also, territorial, right? It's territorial through other neighborhoods.
Yeah,
it's not like it goes anywhere else, right?
And I think too, considering concerns of the community wanting to have a small town feel, a real sense of community and safety and security, recognizing that safe streets and neighborliness often come down to being outdoors, communicating with your neighbors, seeing them walking by, having those conversations, networking with each other, and so when you're out, you're walking, you're working in your yard, people are walking by, you talk to your neighbors, they're riding by on their bikes, things like that. So understanding that, yes, it's a mode of transportation and we have to be important for all users, but also it is accomplishing a lot of the goals that our community has set out. And I think by making sure people recognize the value in that might cool some jets about bigger, broader avenues and you know, heavier traffic. You know, kind of appealing to their better natures, I guess.
Is from a planning point of view, the heavier traffic is inevitable, right? I mean, there's going to be growth. There's no way around that.
Right.
And that's what you're looking at is how quickly are things going to grow, and you're making projections, and so something's got to be done.
Yeah, and what I'm concerned about is that, and we've talked about it in this committee before, but I just feel like we have to hear it. It's always nice to have these things to talk with. And I'm sure you recognize it as a planner too, that often high density housing ends up going in areas that are not yet developed and are less desirable areas, really like looking towards the industrial park. And so now we're putting a lot of active transportation users, pedestrians and bicyclists in with these trucks and things like that. So, you know, we need to make sure that they're safe and such. So we will be very mindful and
we're talking about that aspect of it too, you know, housing typologies, the types of housing that we need, where do we want growth? So there's going to be a lot of conversations. I know I live at the Dahlia, so you know I walk to get my haircut, I walk to Cutsworth, I walk to work, and yeah, if I lived in that same exact housing product, but it was on the fringe, I'd have to drive everywhere, or maybe run a bike or something.
yeah.
But so yeah, there's an urban design component to all this stuff. So
yeah.
I live on 10th and I walk to all those places too.
Yeah.
And so anyway, yeah, that's what we're here to advocate for. So
I would like to talk about alleys.
Yes.
Last year, Mindy and Ray Parker had a meeting with Jerry Nelzine at Wynn's Coffee House. And one of the things he brought up is the fact that they wanted to improve the alleys. And so I've been walking the alleys, which is rather interesting, and get a completely different perspective of these blocks by walking down the alleys.
It's interesting because last night we actually had an infill residential project go before planning commission that's on the alley. 2 units load onto 4th Street, and then the other 3 load, or maybe it's vice versa, onto the alley behind. So there was a lot of discussion about what are alleys for? Are they just emergency access, or are they for travel? Or
I was surprised to see the number of places that's the entrance to the residence is off the alley, and one of them was, like I said, a new apartment.
And so where did that discussion go?
You know, I think there's varying opinions. I mean, one of the neighbors said Candy Fire told him at some point that alleys were purely for emergency access and shouldn't have any loading of any kind off them. I don't know that our department's ever thought of them that way, but I think the TSP is a good opportunity. The update is a good opportunity to kind of define what we see alleys as being. Like, what are they for? How wide should they be? You know, what should that street section be? And then if they really are a priority, they need to make it into our capital improvement plan for transportation projects.
Well, I think Jerry was talking about curbs and drainage.
Yeah.
Whether they have center drains or side drains, because all of the alleys are all over the place as far as very nice and not much more than a gravel road in other places.
Yeah. I know a lot of times they can be way more complicated to improve than they appear, just because they're riddled with all kinds of
they look like a mess.
Old infrastructure, you know, like old utilities and telephone poles and mailboxes and old remnants of old curbs, and there's stuff underneath, and yeah, the drainage doesn't work, and yeah, so it's sometimes they appear to have a very simple solution, but it's a lot more complicated.
Well, just walking it doesn't look simple to me.
Yeah.
My question is, Is there any movement along to actually improve it? Yeah.
Jerry's still talking about it. Yeah, I know he's brought it up lately. I don't know the exact status of where that lies on his mental list of priorities, but it's definitely part of the conversation.
Okay.
I believe most alleys are in the older part of Camden.
Yeah.
We only know of a couple.
The other side.
Yeah, there's none on the
South side.
on the south side.
Oh, there's no, I mean, there's. It might be over. I guess that's possible.
There is one, I know of one behind the old Dairy Queen. Yeah. Actually,
City owned alley?
oh, is it city owned? Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Maybe it's right, but
Anyway. I've asked this before, but have we learned any new things? Again, this is probably, I know it's in the TSP, but you know, like the local improvement districts or any way to incentivize, you know, like walks to, or people to get together to add sidewalks in there. Is there any incentivization that has ever done it?
I thought we had something in our code, but it was something that no one really used that much.
And I think it was the local improvement district that was written in to the last TSP update. But I don't think we've ever really.
Do we know of
neighborhoods?
Do we know of neighborhoods that would be interested in doing it?
Yeah, that's a great question. But when people come up to us, you know, maybe there might be some really talented advocate who can get it going on their block and maybe get the rest of them moving, you know. Who knows? But yeah, it just knows sidewalks are always a priority, and it's for the city, and yeah, just keeping an ear to the ground on that.
Sure.
And
yeah, that's what the Jerry and our city engineer wrote that.
Maybe what other cities our size do, you know, maybe that's a good question for you know, some of the people we've contracted with, you know, what do other cities do for their sidewalk gaps to encourage, you know, people to do it?
I know sometimes it's really controversial because if you build the street to its true classified width, then people lose what they perceive as their yards.
As their yards,
Yeah.
yeah. And then also they don't always realize that they're sometimes that sidewalk is technically at their expense. You know, they have to really keep it up and everything. Right. So anyway, but yeah.
I know Boss Canberra, I don't know if he talks with you guys much, but I know that's one of his signatures. The sidewalk gaps.
Any other questions for Ryan, or Ryan, anything you had?
One more question. It's about this 205 tolling project. And just got to wondering, I guess maybe I paid attention to the newspaper, maybe everybody knows this. You know, Emma told us that it's going to be delayed. They're going to come back and replan or do something. When they do that, or maybe they've already done it. Anyway, when they do that, do they come to the city and talk to the city? Or do they just have public meetings?
They both, a lot of times they are talking to groups of cities, so there'll be like a group for Oregon City and Westland, and that sort of all on the same call. I think our concern has been we've had those types of meetings, but our comments don't always make it anywhere. And one of the things that we've continued to advocate for and point out is, you know, not only are we going to have diversion on 99, we're gonna have diversion from the diversion. So, and that's one of the things we still think they failed to adequately analyze is, yeah, you can analyze the additional trips coming through middle of town, but you're gonna get spillover on Territorial and 13, and that hasn't been studied. And so us and all the other cities and Clackamas County has been super hopeful, is that if they're really truly going back to the drawing board a little bit, they really need to truly analyze all those additional roadway segments and intersections. But I mean, we'll see.
So, does it feel like they're just having a wait and see, like they just want to do it, ODOT just wants to do it and then mitigate after the fact?
Yeah, it's I used to work in California and I was worked up for the high-speed rail thing, and it's really hard when you have the legislative arm that has all these great ideas they want to do, and then you have the state bureaucracy that's trying to just taking direction from them and trying to make it happen. And so, sometimes we feel bad for, ODOT too, because they're just giving these directives like push, get this done. But I think the message has been received that it was too fast and there's a lot of things that have been overlooked. I know from the staff level, another thing that we've always been worried about or had concerns with is they've sort of always treated the I-205 project as like a pilot project, knowing that they want to toll the I-5 and everything else. And we've always said, how can you possibly know the true impacts of the I-205 tolling when hypothetically all that other tolling is also going to happen? It's going to completely change the impacts. They're going to be completely different because you're going to have drivers making decisions based on all those facilities being tolled hypothetically. So we're also kind of hoping that they start looking at the whole thing more holistically.
Mm-hmm. The question I guess I had was that, it sounds like from what you said that we're just sort of, as the city is concerned, waiting to get the message from them so we can comment on it. Or is that true?
We formally commented, so they just had the formal comment period on the environmental analysis portion of the project. That's the federal requirement that they have to go through. And they got like 30,000 letters or something. And so I think that was part of the message that the legislature got, was that, look, this opposition is very broad and there's a lot of concerns that have not been addressed. But I think they formed some group that's going to kind of audit the whole thing and see what needs to be done. So I think we don't fully know how it's going to play out yet.
I was just sort of coming from the thought that maybe it's already happening, I don't know, but it seems like we need kind of a place at the table to where we can go to them and say, these are the problems, or else you show us what you're going to do and we'll show you what the problems are. But
and there is that avenue from the staff and the leadership side. So we join those other cities and the counties when they get all the jurisdictions together. And then Mayor Hodgson is on what they call C4, which is where all the mayors and council people are on that. And he's been forwarding the same messages. So we're trying to utilize all the outlets that we have.
It doesn't seem to be partisan at all, with bipartisan opposition.
I would say, yeah. I mean, it's hard because transportation projects are just like the most expensive thing you possibly do, and so it's like there's this long list of things that obviously we need to do, but how do you pay for that?
Yeah, and gas. I mean, more and more electric is coming on, so gas tax isn't collecting as much. So, and that's only going to get smaller. So I understand there's need to support the infrastructure and everything. But how do you do it in a way that's,
and
has as much foresight as possible?
And part of the problem is, one of the stated goals is alleviating issues on the regional transportation network. And, I would argue 99 is also part of the regional transportation network. So
as is 13th and
so you can't just solve a issue on one facility and just kind of kick the problem down to a lower level of street network. I don't know that I have I don't have really an answer to what we should do, but it definitely should be studied further. And we want to see mitigation funding dedicated to more localized projects. Not just big programmatic things, like you could give TriMet a ton of money for regional transit, but if you're Canby, does that get you anything? Does that mitigate our localized impacts? Probably not.
Picking up on that, on the Clackamas County Bike Ped Committee, we had conversations with ODOT, of course, in 205. And of course, in the beginning, it's like, oh, there's going to be money to improve, the infrastructure for pedestrians, cyclists. It's that was kind of, maybe a blessing, out of the whole thing. But when it came out near the end, they put out a survey, and when I took that survey, basically they were calling it was, how do the pedestrians and cyclists, do they feel safe? And so when they got the results, they said, oh, well, we increased the traffic by 30%, but pedestrians and cyclists will all feel about the same. There's no need to make any change. And I thought that was ridiculous. That was a survey created to get the desired answer they wanted. They didn't have the funds of it.
Yeah, that was shocking when they were telling us the results. We were like, that is.
I think an additional worry, not to pile on, but is always how things are funded. And so we've had meetings about mitigation, and some of the most impacted intersections are sort of like just outside Canby, like Barlow Road, and whatever's the one past that. Is it
Meridian? No. Past Brown?
What did you say?
Aren't?
Lone Elder, maybe that's it.
That's the one that comes down
at a weird angle, And then like Haynes and out here. But then there's sort of this talk, well, those are already on Clackamas's their own TSP list of projects. So the question becomes, is ODOT even going to build any of that? Are they just going to contribute some money that's their share of an impact that's already happening? And if that's the case, then even where they've identified projects that need to happen, well, maybe that might have to wait until Clackamas County gets to that project themselves. And that's a problem too, because then you could have the tolling in operation and Clackamas County might not be able to build that project for 10 years. And so you've already got that impact, but you don't have the mitigation yet. And that's a big problem.
Yeah. Conundrum, to say the least.
For sure.
I'm excited about the Oregon City, not Malala, Tolliver, and 213 roundabout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
213 in Tolliver.
Tolliver.
It's where you cross, we've drawn in out Tolliver into Malala. And of course, it's a pain to get across that at any time.
Yeah,
they're very big now.
Yeah.
Huh?
And I'm just thinking, Malala has one of the worst impacts on county and state highways and roads around their city. And they don't even, do they even have anyone from Malala on the county bike ped?
No.
No. I don't get it. Yeah, anyway.
We have David is Peter Creek.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, just as all of us have ridden in and around Malala, we realize it's really a pretty scary city to even get into because of all the freeway or highways surrounding it and high speed busy roads. So anyway, that's.
You see the same thing for Canby. If you really want to get outside of Canby, and you know, you're talking high speed roads. Where can you go? I guess you go across the ferry. Of course, that's kind of, you know, narrow, twisty roads.
Yeah, that's not for the faint of
yeah.
either.
Yeah.
You know, really be great would be to have a bike path that would go south all the way down. Wouldn't that be great? What's happening? Where are we?
And we would stay out of the way of traffic if they want to be fast on their roads.
Yeah, we don't mind being isolated from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of which, if we can move on, hotspots, any hotspots to be recognized or mentioned or put forth?
The bridge going out Ivy probably needs to be swept.
Okay.
And then in the bike lanes in Ivy too, you know, there's just, you need to clean them up again.
Okay.
And Oriole, the east end as you come off of 99 and down that hill.
Oh yeah.
And then on Sequoia, where you go through around the corners and stuff to get streets. If you start on Sequoia, yeah.
Like, I don't understand. I thought you were thick skinned.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they grow every year. You gotta clean them out, cut them back.
So did you know that maybe everyone knows, but blackberry control is best done in the fall?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pulling everything into the roots.
Yeah.
The problem is it's hard to get the time right when it's not raining, because if you're gonna spray them,
But sometimes,
it seems like it's like the time when it's best to spray them, it's like it was raining.
I know. So
Is that
Exactly.
right next to Cedar?
No, it's after. Absolutely.
okay.
I have kind of a, this isn't really a hotspot thing, but I mean,
Yeah.
it is in a different way. Who would we contact to get soap in the bathroom at Locust Park? There is no, because I volunteer for the bridging culture Saturday lunch barbecue thing, and it absolutely disgusted me when I went in there. There's not even a thing on the wall for soap, and it's like there's food being consumed, and they have picnic benches and.
Where is that?
Locust Park,
Okay, Locust.
no soap in the restroom.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Thank you.
A street.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
State flag.
Well,
Which brings us to Brent. Any outreach comments?
I don't really have anything other than, I think we've been posting, announcement when we learn different things. I've been posting on, or get links to get like the bike rodeo thing, posted on that. And then I think Jeff posted it on the carbs page too. So we're just kind of right now, it's pretty much just being used as a venue for posting events and that kind of thing. And I don't know if we want to try to do more activity on it, like take post pictures when you're out and about on the trail or whatever. But everybody make sure to like whatever is posted on there. Try to like it. Whether you like it or not, just like it.
Jeff, which night does the cards right?
Tuesday night.
Okay.
6 o'clock.
Okay.
I'm realizing another
And Saturdays?
item.
This, the people set them up, yeah.
Okay.
What does CART stand for?
Canopy area.
Recreational, like,
And oh, I saw him headed out of town today, territorial, I think. Someone's coming in town, maybe 6.
Yeah.
No, it was before 6. That might be the Tuesday Tualatin people coming across the ferry, actually. They'll leave a little earlier.
that's a heck of a ride across the ferry. I've been riding very good church here.
Uh-huh.
That's quite a hilly ride.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you gotta make sure if you are riding off the ferry, not, no, you're not. Make sure you're in the middle steer.
We used to, were you on the ride where we used to go to the farmer's market a couple times when we went to the farmer's market in Wilsonville?
Yeah, yeah.
We did that a couple times, but I would park a car there beforehand, so I wouldn't have to ride it back.
Okay. Brief Clackamas County update. I'll do that since you were out of town. So we had most significant things was a update on some of the projects for community. I have it on my
Community Road Fund.
thank you.
Community road.
Road Fund. It's a list of funded projects.
Yeah, and so I have it here, which might be interesting. There we go. All right, so they were showing the projects that have been funded through this community road fund. And also it's a lot of it is repaving and traffic mitigation. And this is a citizen advisory council. And anyhow, I just thought you guys might be interested in knowing kind of what some of those projects were. And it appears that headed south on Canby, this looks like Highway 7. What is that one?
Which road going
Going out
on?
to the low down there.
Oh, I
Highway
see.
17. Ivy, anyway.
170.
170, yeah.
170.
Yeah.
Okay, I was trying to say 17 and that wasn't right. Okay, so, and it looks like they went all the way out to the Woodburn Law Highway. And then they made improvements or recommended improvements at Canby Markham Highway and at Hines Road. And then they had also closer in to Canby, they did 47, 49, and 50. Haynes Road, Bremer Road, and Blank.
What are they planning on?
They just did some paving projects, or that's
Well,
what
they have not done.
They haven't done it, but that's what's smart to do. Thank you.
Oh no, then the traffic's gonna go faster.
Yeah, right. That's all those
But
follows.
take a look here, just a second.
The Bremer Expressway.
This is your perfect opportunity to see exactly where to go. Also Lily Lane, Airport Road.
It would be amazing if the paving project somehow included like a bike lane.
So 49 is Bremer Road. Yeah, it does look like Bremer. It looks like pretty much all of it.
They're just gonna repave it.
But who knows when they'll get it. But this is what they're in.
Well, I guess it'll be better for our cars.
And then over on C14 is Barlow Road and 99. And at a glance, can you tell them? Oh, that's the repaving.
What is their time? Did you say maybe what their timeline is, or just
projects? I don't know offhand. But the funding's in the
51
works,
through 56. So look at your key. Like 50,
oh no, I already
you
said
already did
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Lily Road, Airport Road, Landing Lane.
By the mall.
They also have Monte Cristo to Austria. So.
And I know that. I worked that the other day. Something I won't write it again for every year.
So anyway, there's the majority of the projects, of course, are in the more, well, I don't know. I actually think some of the rural areas, they're doing fairly decent on out around, let me read here, Oster Road, Crop to Farm, Monte Cristo.
up the Mount Angel, like you write down?
Almost 213. Monte Cristo is kind of like if you go out Barlow to the end and it turns.
Oh,
Monte Cristo goes the other way.
Yeah,
And it's kind of,
goes through Monitor. But so they're talking about that right in the very corner between Marion County line and Plaquemines, just on the Plaquemines side. And then there's a lot of internal projects going on in the greater McLaughlin area than Milwaukee, just south of Milwaukee. So anyway, that's that.
Safety for sure.
Yeah. And
you want me to talk about 172nd?
go for it. I don't know how much does that interest us.
I don't know.
Is
This is just a paragraph. So we're going to spend more time talking about it. So anyway, it's about Happy Valley, and so they're doing an infrastructure project along 172nd. That's high priority for the city. 172nd will be widened to 4 travel lanes with a center planner, median, and turn lanes from Misty Drive to Maple Hill Lane with added bike lanes and landscaping strips. And so I just, so you know about it, other things are happening here, right?
Thank you.
That's the other thing. Besides bike journeys.
Yeah, we don't need, I mean, things that are not pertinent to this committee, I just don't know that.
I know, I just feel it now.
You know, I do. But anyway, okay, and I'll be, I think it's Russ, and have you filled out your?
Yeah, I'm supposed to go and get approved. Hopefully they can
Yeah,
turn me down.
and I'm realizing I need. So that.
Yeah, I got to say that.
So. Anyway, aside from that, go ahead.
Well, I want to come back to the last line. I think this is a serious problem. Our city council liaison I mean, is he still severely injured that he can't? So I don't know how to deal with this. It pisses me off because we need to have, I mean, with Ryan and Emmy, they're on staff, they're not political, I can't do any of that kind of stuff with it. We need someone from a political person from the city, whether they think we're a bunch of jerks or they're supportive, we need some connection there. And I think it's reached the point where we need to reach out to the mayor and say, I'm sorry, we need someone, we want someone from the council who's willing to attend a once a month meeting. And actually we canceled it a couple of years, so maybe 10 times a year, 10 hours a year. I mean, anybody else bothered as much as I am?
Russ, what's the count? I know he's maybe one meeting, and that's out of 6.
I know, that's the only one I missed, you know, and so I've never met the guy, but I keep waiting and we have Zoom. I mean, it's not as though you can't observe the meeting.
You can participate by Zoom if you wanted to.
He doesn't want it. That's apparent to me. He doesn't want it. And it seems to me that this just kind of got, we went from a highly effective, interested liaison, which we spoiled this, I guess. Maybe the other committee, the other city committees are as for the representatives.
No, at least Parks and Rec is. Parks and Rec is, well, it's now the Parks.
Well, he must be interested in it.
He was a member of the committee.
Well, maybe it's important to find somebody who is interested in pedestrians, bicycles, and so on, to be the liaison, because it's obviously too much of a load for him. I'm being real negative here, but you know, I mean, why are we doing it if there's no support from the city? There is support. But it's right. We're not denigrating you guys.
You know, do you carry that message to the mayor and say there's an attendance problem? Or just let him be aware of it?
Well, from my end, the best chain of command would probably be our interim administrator, Eileen. Have you met her yet? She just started. I think she would be really receptive to that. Carry that message forward, because I think that's kind of how we're trying to do things, funnel it toward the city administrator. Then she meets with the mayor regularly. So, but I can absolutely do that.
Yeah, just putting in taking all my negativity away from it and putting it in a positive thing that we really would like to have somebody who's interested in and convey, you know, our thoughts to the city council. And perhaps perhaps it's time for a different person.
Can I ask what happens when they ask for committee liaison reports at city council meetings? Is there any comment from our liaison in reporting? Does he look at our minutes or anything? Does he comment on them that you recall? Maybe I need to check the minutes.
I'm not sure.
I should try to fit the minutes.
Yeah. I know the fire, because I'm the Parks and Rec rep. I know the fire chief regularly has an update for council, but I'm not sure about
I would ask him directly.
I know sometimes they watch the video afterwards. But,
yeah.
But I kind of want to speak for you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It is nice to have, and I appreciate it having it here on record that it's nice to be able to have those conversations and hear what's happening in city council meetings and what projects are going on and things that they're working towards, as well as what we are advocating for. And we have been absent that when no one's in attendance. So, yeah. I appreciate those comments. And with that, any further comments? Let's take a look at our next meeting. Typically, we do take some time off in the summer, and to be perfectly honest, I
don't really.
what's that?
I'll be gone for the next meeting.
Okay.
No,
that's
Same here.
and I'll be gone. Three of us can run.
And I won't be available really because we've got a wedding in July for a family member. So shall we hold off until August?
Okay.
And how about August 8th? Which would again be the second Tuesday of the month.
Okay.
I'm a maybe on that day.
Was that?
I'm a maybe on that day.
Okay.
I should be back in Washington on that day.
Okay.
And I was supposed to do minutes for July, I think, so I'll do them for August.
Thank
So
you.
we'll just
Yeah, that would
continue
be great. Okay, I'm gonna write that. So that'll be I don't know what attendees I'm inviting, but so next meeting is August 8th. Minutes will be Brett, and that's it. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Bruce.
Second.
Second, Mike. Any objections? In that case, I'll take that as unanimous. Meeting adjourned at 7:40. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.